are you? How are you? Good. Thank you. I am honored to be with everyone here today, especially for the reasons you are all here. Whether we are 3 days or 3 decades into advocacy, we are all a part of changing the world for people that really deserve it. And so it is an honor to stand here with each of you. I'm going to share with you a little bit about my story and then a little bit about the work that we do with GRYT Health. But that's not where I want to start. I'd like to start with each of our individual experiences, the things that have made us who we are. And so if you're comfortable, I would ask you to please close your eyes for just a moment. And now think about a time in your life where you felt powerless or helpless or hopeless. Try to connect to that experience. Thank you. I would like to share what that experience was in my life. When I was 30 years old, I told my mom and my dad that I did not know how much longer I wanted to live. The reason I told my parents these impossible words as a 30-year-old is because I had just survived cancer for the second time in my 20s. Survived cancer for the second time in my 20s. You see, surviving was a goal that I could focus on. I could get to my scans, I could get to my treatment, I could get to my doctor's appointment. Check, check, check. But when that goal ended and I was a survivor, all of those things that cancer diagnosis and treatment do that don't have room to breathe in us when we're fighting for our lives, those things overwhelm us. I was suffocating from all those things. Nobody had taught me that losing my ability to be a biological dad was really going to mess with me. Nobody taught me that living without hormones for a year was really going to affect how I felt about myself. And nobody told me that the anxiety and the depression that was crushing me as a 30-year-old was something that I would be too filled with shame to admit to ask for help. And so I never did find help. I didn't know how to use my voice to even ask for help. Fortunately, help found me. I met other young adult cancer survivors and caregivers who changed my life because my trauma was now shared trauma. I got to become a part of something that was bigger than myself, and it changed my life. And together with those individuals, we co-founded GRYT Health. Kenny Kane and 2 other leaders in the young adult cancer movement created this organization because we know what it's like to be cancer patients and caregivers. When I started this work almost 10 years ago, which doesn't seem possible, Kenny, one of the first people that I met was a woman named Allie Powers. And Allie wrote something that I would love to share with you. These are Allie's words from May 26, almost 8 years ago. 3 a.m. is when cancer sucks the most. It's at 3 a.m. when everyone else is sleeping and you're awake because you're in pain and you can't sleep and nothing will ease the pain. It's 3 a.m. when you feel totally alone, when all of your friends are asleep and no one understands. It's 3 a.m. when the bad thoughts flood in of constantly being sick and wishing the pain would go away. It's 3 a.m. when you wish you could go back in time to before you were sick, but you've been sick for so long, those days have long faded away. It's the 3 a.m. battles that nobody sees, the battles where your inner strength is tested. It's the 3 a.m. battles where you fight alone, holding on to the good things in life. It's 3 a.m. when the real feelings sink in and the mask of I'm fine or I'm good comes off. It's 3 a.m. when I hate my cancer the most. This is the feeling that comes back way too often, a side that nobody sees. Our team at GRYT Health are cancer survivors, caregivers, advocates, researchers, and doctors. We do this work because we meet people knowing that their experience is something we've experienced. In my 20s, I worked as a patient experience researcher for pharma. And doing that research as a young adult with cancer, I remember wondering why my experience was not in the research I was reading. Why did the way I feel and all the things I was going through not show up in what we were doing in the research? And so I left that world to co-create GRYT Health, to learn about the experience of people facing a diagnosis, to learn what they're going through, and most importantly, to learn what their goals are. We have to start with their goals. That is our calling in our humanity. And so our team shows up every day to meet people where they are because we understand these experiences. Lauren Lostaskis is our program director. And for every one of the patients and caregivers who attend one of our virtual programs, she asks herself and us, how am I making somebody's life better? Thank you, Lauren. Megan Claire Chase is our partnership director. And in every one of our partnerships, she works tirelessly to make sure that our shared mission to help patients navigate their journey on their terms is fulfilled. Nicole Owens is our chief marketing officer, and she uses her cancer experience to help amplify our voices and our experiences to help other people find their voices, to advocate for themselves and to advocate for others. Dr. Dan Platt uses his medical and scientific brain to lead patient experience research that helps companies improve clinical trial protocol design and to improve patient education and to help improve access in a system that isn't really friendly to access. Together, we get to do this work because we understand this shared experience. I want to share something with you that my father taught me when I was growing up. It has been my motto through my entire life. When we started this company, Dr. Brad Love, our third co-founder, runs the Center for Health Communication at UT Austin. And in our first meeting sitting in Austin, he wrote these words on a board: reduce isolation. When you are separate and alone, everything else is harder. And Lauren's program strategy, connection, education, advocacy, is to help people advance in that journey from being alone to being a part of education to being a part of advocacy. And when Brad wrote these words, reduce isolation, on the board, we had no idea that 7 years later, we would be running a company and a team of people that every day I can see the isolation melting away from the individuals who so desperately need it. I mentioned my dad's quote. He would say to my brother and I, any time that we doubted ourselves growing up, the difficult we do immediately. The impossible takes us a little longer. But if I can share with you what I've learned from a lifetime of living my dad's motto and a decade of working with our GRYT Health team, is that the difficult we accomplish alone, but the impossible we have to do together. And so we are here to celebrate you, to thank you, and to be a part of advocating for the people who desperately need it. When I was going through cancer, I told myself I'm in control. I told myself I got this, and I was lying to myself. At some point, we arrive at the realization that it's bigger than us. Whether we do this professionally or personally, it is bigger than each of us. And so, thank you for your profession. Thank you for your passion. And thank you for every life you touch to have made it better. I truly hope that we'll get to spend time with you at our booth, Nicole 316. 316. I hope we'll get to learn about your passion. We have a couple big events coming up. We do a global virtual cancer conference in November. It's a free event for patients and caregivers. We'd love to share information. And we run a program called the Advocacy Exchange that is for all therapeutic areas to help patients connect to resources. Thank you to my GRYT Health team. Thank you to you. Cheers.